Welcome. Today you will learn how to use the Morph transition that is available in Microsoft PowerPoint. With the Morph transition, you can bring a more dynamic and animated look to your presentations. Before we begin, I suggest that you open a blank PowerPoint presentation so that you can follow along and try the steps for yourself. There are many ways you can use the Morph transition in PowerPoint, but today you will be working through two examples. Feel free to pause the video and rewatch any of the steps as needed. For our first example, you're going to use the Morph transition to animate images in your presentation. For example, we can use the Morph transition to zoom into this map, and we can also use it to zoom back out. For our second example, you're going to learn how to use the Morph transition to bring attention to a data point. In our line of work, we're often presenting data from research, surveys, and reports to our executive leadership team or to the staff. And there are often certain values or data points you want to emphasize or bring attention to. For example, we can zoom into this graph and use a circle to highlight the highest point. Let's begin by animating this image of the human ear and all of its parts. We often include images in our presentations, but they can look flat as you're presenting. So, what if you could zoom into this image as you're talking about each part? That's what the More feature allows you to do. So let me share my screen and show you the steps to do this. We're working with the slide that has our image, and we're going to go ahead and scroll up to the ribbon at the top and select the tab titled Transitions. As you can see, there are different options for different transitions, but the one that we're using today is the Morph transition. And as we hover over it, it does tell you what steps to use to implement the transition. And as you can see, the first step is to duplicate the slide. So we're going to go ahead and go down to our slide and duplicate it by right-clicking and selecting Duplicate Slide from the menu. Now that we have our duplicate slide, we're going to make the changes on the duplicate slide itself. So how are we going to do that? If we want the image to zoom in, here we're going to go ahead and make this image larger than the slide itself. And as you can see, as I make it, you can still see the slide behind the image. So it's very helpful there. Now I still have to reposition it, and I feel like it's still not large enough in comparison to the slide. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more because I am zooming into this vestibular nerve. So I feel like that is large enough. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit the morph transition. As soon as I hit it, you were going to see a preview of what this is going to look like in your presentation. If you notice, the transition allowed us to zoom into that image. You also have the option to preview again by hitting this button in the corner. And again, there you can see exactly how it's going to look in your presentation. Let's go ahead and move on to our second and last example. Here, we're going to go ahead and use a graph in which we want to emphasize a specific data point within the graph. In this case, I want to bring attention to the fact that 49% of female veterans present stage 1 breast cancer. So let's go ahead and use the circle that I already have here. And we're going to go ahead and use the circle to bring attention to that data point. So again, for the morph transition, step one is to duplicate the slide. So I'm going to go ahead and right click to duplicate the slide. In this case, we're actually going to make changes to both slides. First, on the first slide, I'm going to go ahead and make this circle bigger than the slide itself. So I'm going to resize it and reposition it so that when you're presenting in this slide, the audience will not see the circle. So I have to make it big enough, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom out just so that I have more room to play with, right? So there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and continue resizing until it's not visible. Okay, so there you go. Now my circle is bigger than the slide, so it won't show whenever we get to the slide. But now we're going to go ahead and move to the second one, and we're going to keep the circle small, and we're going to go ahead and put it right above the data point that we want to emphasize. So now that we have the two slides, we can go ahead and apply the transition for the second slide. And again, as soon as I hit, you're going to see what it's going to look like. So if you notice, this transition is allowing us to bring attention to that specific data point, and it does it beautifully. So that's it for today. What other examples can you think of for using the Morph transition to make your presentations more dynamic? Thank you. Have a great day.